In this module, we will talk about beta distributions. But before going into the details of beta distribution, let's try to understand why we need them. For this, we again look at the maximum likelihood solution for the Bernoulli distribution. We will talk with respect to the binomial distribution. So we have a set of observations xn to xn, and we have discussed in the previous module that the maximum likelihood solution is this. What this implies is that for m samples of x is equal to 1, so if the random variable x holds a value of 1, and if there are m samples of this, then the probability can be denoted as small m over n, where n is the total number of observations. This is the maximum likelihood solution. What this also means is, for example, consider the case, this one, where m is equal to n is equal to 3. So we have three samples, and for all the three samples, we obtain x is equal to 1. Based on this, the maximum likelihood solution says that the probability of, if x is equal to 1 is heads, then it says that the probability of heads is 1. Is that true? No, because we know that it's not true. It's just that because our observations were only 3, n equal to 3, and we just found heads for all the cases. Clearly, this is an example of overfitting. Now, one way to improve this solution is to add prior opinion. And when we say prior opinion, we are going Bayesian. We introduce a prior into the solution to improve it. And this, the prior that we want to introduce, if we are taking the prior which is of a form very similar to the Bernoulli distribution, then that prior is actually the beta distribution that we are going to discuss further. So looking into the mathematical definition of beta distribution, this is how we denote it. So beta of mu given a and b. So a and b are two hyperparameters that define the form of the beta distribution, and it is given as gamma a plus b by gamma a gamma b mu raised to a minus 1 1 minus mu raised to b minus 1. So these a and b, like I said, they are two hyperparameters, and the gamma function is mathematically represented as using this integral form. Now, based on the choice of values of a and b, the shape of the beta distribution changes like this. So we have 4 examples of the beta distribution for different combinations of a and b. What we see is when a and b are equal and very small values, we see spikes at the two solutions of x equal to 1 and x equal to 0 and x equal to 1. So in this case mu. So we have at 0 and 1 we see these two peaks. This is for a equal to b equal to 0.1. When both of them are 1, then it becomes uniform. Now, if you look here, if a is smaller than b, what we see is that the peak of this curve tends to shift towards 0. And when a is greater than b, it tends to move towards 1. And just to add here, a corresponds to mu. If you see in this equation, a corresponds to mu and b corresponds to 1 minus mu. When the value of a is higher, when the value of a is higher, we start giving more weight to the probability of x is equal to 1. So in this case mu, we give the more weight to the probability of x being 1. That's why the curve starts to shift towards 1. So if we choose a prior where a is greater than b, we see that it is towards 1. And if we have a higher value of b, then 1 minus mu is given more weight. So we tend to shift towards x is equal to 0, where the random variable is basically 0. So this is the beta distribution that we were talking about. And we are not going to derive this, but this distribution is also normalized. So if you integrate it for all solutions, then the overall summation will be 1. And then the mean and variance of the beta distribution are given like this. So expectation over mu is a by a plus b. It has the expectation, and the variance is given by ab upon a plus b square into a plus b plus 1. So these are the details of the beta distribution. Now, how do we really use it? So if we have the beta distribution defining the prior for our solution, and we already have our binomial equation or the binomial equation defining the likelihood function, then to obtain the posterior probability, we just need to multiply the beta prior with the binomial likelihood function. So after multiplying the two, the posterior that we obtain is defined as follows. So this is the posterior that we obtain. So it is proportional to these two terms that we have here. And what we see now is, so I'll toggle between the two slides. But if you look at the prior, if you look at this prior here, and now if you look at the posterior, the prior and posterior have the same mathematical form. That's why they are referred to as conjugates. And if we further look at the posterior, it's just if we try to relate the posterior with the prior, what we see is that after observing m samples of x is equal to 1 and l samples of x is equal to 0, we are just replacing a with m plus a and b with l plus b. What this means is that the posterior can always be used as another prior for the next posterior. So if you have some prior, so again, so let's say this is previously our prior was this, right? Previously our prior was this, and if we replace the a with m plus a and b with l plus b, we can still use it as our prior. So what this means is, so for example, if we started with certain prior and then we have some information from the likelihood function as well, and we obtained a posterior. So when we have the information from the likelihood function, it means we have information from some observations. When we multiply the prior with the likelihood function, we obtain this posterior. And since the posterior is exactly the same as the prior with just some replacements, small replacements, we can just use this posterior as a new prior. And if we have again more observations, we can build again a likelihood function on top of that and compute updated posterior. So this is one example. So this is our prior. So initially we see that our prior has a peak at 0.5. So equal probabilities and symmetric around 0.5. And then we have a likelihood function which shows that the probability of x is equal to 1 is higher. When we use these two to obtain the posterior, what we see is, so in this case, when we use these two to obtain the posterior, we see that the posterior is now shifted towards 1. So with this likelihood function added to the prior, our posterior is now more towards this solution, because in the observations that we made, so the likelihood function shows that x equal to 1 tends to have higher probability as per the observations. So our posterior is now shifted towards x equal to 1. And if we have more observations, we can now use this as prior. And again, with the new observations, we can construct another likelihood function to obtain the updated posterior.